Welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast, a resource for parents who are feeling outpaced and overwhelmed as they raise children in a tech world. As an educator, parent, and tech user, I want to equip parents with the tools, resources, and confidence they need to raise kids who love God and use tech. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland, and sitting with me right now is a gentleman by the name of Micah Roberts. Welcome, Micah.
Hello.
Hello. Micah, you've actually heard his name before because, Micah, you may not know this. I've referenced you on here with your quote about game like you like your life.
Oh, yeah, the self-hate quote?
Yeah. Like, just game like you don't hate yourself. Like, you actually enjoy gaming and you want to enjoy being alive. So Micah didn't know this. So just so you guys know, listeners, if you're hearing this, it's because Micah came over and we were just like kicking it old school. And I was like, you know what, Micah? I do this section called What the Tech, and Justin's the only other person that's ever been on it. And you'd be like an amazing discussion point of like hearing your thoughts on gaming. And he was just like, sure. Let's do that. Go ahead and put a microphone in front of me and have me talk to a bunch of people I can't see. Like, let's do that.
I have nothing going on this Monday morning.
So welcome, Micah. Dude, I'm excited. So here's what I was thinking. Can you tell me just like, let's think, because again, listeners, he knows not what's happening. Like I've not given him any kind of a talk sheet question list. I didn't even text him and tell him this might happen.
Nope. I thought we were just hanging out.
And we were. And then I was like, you know what? There's a microphone right here. How about I just set this in front of you and have you talk into it? So tell me a little bit about just like general stage of life. Where are you at? Who are you? Micah Roberts.
I am Micah. I am 20 years old.
Booyah.
Not doing any schooling. I'm out of school, just working.
Yeah.
And I play games a lot.
Yeah, all right, so if we're going What the Tech, so What the Tech is just a session where we talk kind of tech applied, right?
Okay.
Like tech in life. So what do you enjoy about video games, just like big picture? Like for someone who doesn't understand video games and is like, what the heck?
In a general sense, I enjoy it for the same reason people enjoy reading books or watching shows. I enjoy the story, and the gameplay is just a more engaging way to deal with a story than just sitting there watching something happen.
Yeah, I feel you, right? And my poor wife who loves movies and is just like, let's watch more movies. I'm like, I just can't wrap my brain around why I'm going to watch other people live their lives.
Yeah, that's me. Right now, I'm having a hard time watching anything that's longer than like 26 episodes in like 20-minute increments.
Yeah, yes.
So basically, really old, not popular animes.
Yeah.
Are where I'm.
If it's
where
not
I'm
The
thriving
Mandalorian,
right now.
I just can't sit through it.
Yeah, and there are exceptions if it's really good.
So then when you think back on, I mean, you're 20 now. When was like the first time you remember playing a game? And what was your first like aha of like, oh, games can be awesome?
The thing I know I had first was, I don't even remember what it was called. It was some garbage like edutainment type console. It was an orange and like purple box. It had a controller with one big button in the middle and like four smaller ones. So I know, because I've been told that was the first game console I had. The first one I remember that was actually a real console was, I think, the Game Boy Advanced SP, the one that flipped.
Oh yeah.
And I had what was it? I think Pokemon Yellow was the first video game I ever played.
Is Yellow the one where Pikachu would follow you around?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you can like...
It's also called like Special Pikachu Edition sometimes.
You can like talk to him or something. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's like slowly coming back to me. Yeah. Pokemon.
Yeah. Pokemon was the first series I ever played.
It something in you snapped and you were like, this is good.
I don't think it snapped. Like, I got super into video games till my uncle brought over Halo 2 when I was like 6 or 7.
Thanks,
and
Uncle.
I was allowed to play it because the alien blood was blue instead of red. And my dad just never saw all the dead soldiers on the ground.
So let's pause there because this is such a relatable moment, right? Like this is, I don't know what happens. Parents, I don't know what goes on in our brains, but we're like, you can absolutely not play that game. There's murdering and there's death and it's terrible. And then you're like, oh, Oh, they're aliens. Oh, that's fine.
They're aliens. They're not humans. We can kill those.
They need to die.
Yeah. They were the bad guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Which was my argument with Contra for like the longest time. Was like, oh, they're robots. Look, they blow up at the end. Like, I'm not killing people. Like, I should be able to play this game. And everyone has argued that with both Doom and Diablo of like, we're killing demons. Like, we're doing the work of the Lord here.
Yeah, they're demons, but we're killing them in horrific, gory ways.
Sure.
Makes it cool.
I mean, the whole point is they're dead. It's real life dead. Let me do it. So you played Halo 2 with your uncle. Got into that, and that was, what did you like about Halo 2? I guess, like you mentioned, story is a big thing for you in video games.
I don't know, that early on I wasn't really paying attention to story in games. I just
because you said you were like 6 or 7, right?
Yeah, I was super young.
All right.
I don't remember when Halo 2 came out, but it was a bit after it came out. I think it was right before Halo 3 came out.
I was definitely in college when it came out. So
yeah, because I remember then, because me and my brother played that a lot, so we were excited when he brought over Halo 3, because we didn't even know there was another one coming out. He's like, here's a whole nother one of those, and I still have that copy because he never took it back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you did. You just forgot, Uncle. So don't ask any questions.
I'm not giving it back.
Yeah, you didn't hear that.
I have more hours played than you. It's mine now legally.
Yeah, it's state of Washington. And I guess in this process, so in this journey, I know I hear from a lot of parents who are concerned about their kids' gaming habits. So in this podcast, we've talked a lot about like, hey, video games often aren't the problem. I use the kind of analogy, or I guess the word picture, as you would, of the difference between like a pebble and a blister. Like if there's something in your shoe, sometimes you can just shake it out, and like it's causing a problem. And once the pebble goes away, there's no more problem. So for some people, video games are the problem, and for some people, it's actually just symptomatic of something else happening.
Yeah.
Like
it's just
you can take away the video games, but like the blister's still there. Like we still have an issue.
It's more used as like a coping mechanism than anything else.
Yeah, and I guess I would like to know a two-part question then. In your life, and we've talked a little bit about this, but if you want to, I don't know, kind of sum it in a way that might make sense for our listeners, what in your experience has been kind of a way you've been able to keep it healthy for you? Like, where's your litmus? Obviously, I shared your epic quote already. So, and then on the other side, when you see it go sideways for you, like what does that look like in your experience? Huge question to just be spontaneously asked. So
yeah, it's all good. When I know it's good is, of course, when I'm having fun, but like when I'm getting something out of it. Like Call of Duty is fun. Yeah, I enjoy that game, but I don't feel like I get anything out of it. I don't feel like I am experiencing a great story or anything like that. I'm experiencing refined mechanics, which are fun, but if it's the same thing over and over again, at a certain point, I just stop playing, even though I enjoy them. It's just, I've seen it too much. I don't want to get into the habit of just playing the same thing because I can play it.
Okay.
I like to, I guess, challenge myself with the games I play and play games that I don't think I'd normally be into. But if they have a hook, I try and play them. Or like if they have a story that I think seems engaging, but not something that would be immediately apparent to me.
Okay, yeah, walk through that, because what I just heard you say was something very gamer. Like I think some people may have heard it and their eyes might have glazed over. They were just like, I don't know those words that just came out of your mouth. You mentioned a hook, and then playing games that have like a new aspect to it. Like if I'm a parent and I don't game, and I have a kid that this clicks, like they like games, and I want to know, is this just something new and it's normal, and it's just something they enjoy that I don't enjoy, right? Which happens, right?
Yeah.
So therefore I'm just telling them to not game because I don't like games, and now I'm just saying get off my lawn, right? I'm just being an old person shaking my rake at those darn kids these days. Or this is actually an issue. What is it you're trying to describe when you say this is something about a game? Is there an example you can give us that you're like, man, this was something neat that as someone who enjoys video games, this was it done in a new way or an interesting way, and I wouldn't play a well-made game that's repetitive, but I would play this thing.
It's just kind of like sticking with stimulating and engaging content in the game instead of just being comfortable. Because like Call of Duty, it's Call of Duty. Even any parent would probably know it.
Sure.
And it's been the same since they first heard about it. In general, they have improved in some ways, but it's just not challenging anymore. I'm getting nothing out of it, so it is starting to become just a time sink and nothing else.
Okay.
Because I have become very conscious of how I spend my time playing games. So I try and play things that are, I at least get something out of, and it's not just to kill time. Those games have their time and place. That's what Minecraft is as a concept.
Yeah.
And I still love that game and play it. But it's like the difference between just watching the same 4 Marvel movies over and over again, or like looking at the Oscar noms and seeing like what artsy movie is out there that I can like engage with and see if I'd like that.
Okay, so playing the game for more of like the experience and the challenge and the and seeing how that thing was put together and enjoying it for what it is.
Games are such a diverse genre.
Yeah.
It's become one of the biggest industries in the world. There's so many voices that it's kind of insane to me to limit it to just like 5 studios who make games.
Yeah.
When they all tell pretty much the same thing, because they all come from the same like corporate hemisphere. Whereas indie games, which are just games made by independent developers, a dude in his garage sometimes, those can give more interesting ideas, sometimes even challenging ideas that make me think about my life differently.
Yeah, one of the big examples of that, I mean, for me would be like That Dragon Cancer, right? Where you're playing through, so listeners, this is literally a game which I would encourage any of you to go check it out if you want to see kind of what the future of video games, well, there's, I'll say this and then I'll come back to it. But That Dragon Cancer is a game where 2 real life parents went through the process of losing their child to cancer. And then they made a game to basically help themselves grieve and help other people experience that process of like, how do we deal with the impossible, right? Like, how do you process this? Not find a quick answer, not beat cancer and everyone lives forever, but like process actual loss. And then I'll come back to my statement of saying like games are going 2 directions right now. Games are attempting to be a medium for meaningful communication, just like movies and shows have attempted this, where you have a platform and you have a story and you have people with passion, and they're going to try to communicate their thoughts and feelings and experiences through game. And then you have the side where like, yeah, but we can also make hand over fist money. So I would put these in games with soul and games without soul.
Yeah, the without soul, they're just like, they're most of the time like huge power fantasies. You're just killing a bunch of things, and there's a bunch of ways for you to spend real world money for in-game products.
Yes. Or, I mean, FIFA would be one of the worst offenders in this.
FIFA, where it's just soccer again.
It's just soccer. We got soccer one more time, and we still didn't give you the good players. Like, you can pay $15,
it's
and
still
we might.
not even the full list of concurrent football players in the world.
Yes. Yeah, they're all hidden under random draw cards you have to purchase.
Yeah.
All right, so that answers the first half of my question for you, of kind of what you get out of games. When it goes sideways for you, what are some things that you've seen, or if you don't want to self-report and plead the fifth, people you know in your life, because you're friends with lots of people where video games are very important to them, amongst other mediums of entertainment and fun. But what would you say in their lives? I actually like that question better. No names, by the way. They may hear this, but with your friends, like when you see them go sideways and you watch them quit playing for fun and start just doing it to dig the hole and to get away, or because they're convinced it's important and they haven't actually thought through the process of like, it doesn't matter. It's not helping you. Like, what do you see in them when that happens?
In them, and also in me, I am guilty of this. They just never log off. Because in all PlayStation, Xbox, PC, you can see when your friends are online, and sometimes you can even see what they're playing. So you can see, oh, I'm going to go to bed. And then you wake up, it's like, oh, they're still on. They probably haven't gone to sleep.
Through like a Discord or just through like a Steam?
Discord, or even on just Steam or the Xbox Live. You can see their activity. You can even check like their hours played.
Yeah, which gets up there.
Which does get up there.
I mean, weren't you just tell me about a guy who, what was the 400?
400 days played. Not
days,
like days in a
days
row, but
played.
Like 24 hour cycles played.
Which I didn't do the math on that, but what, that's 800... so many hours.
That is a lot.
I'm working on 8,000 hours.
It is a lot. It is more than a year of his life
in a single game.
In one game.
In one game. So when you see them get into that, is there something that helps them pull out? Is it like they just burn out and then move on, or is there like I should call that person and like take them?
It's mostly burnout. I don't think it's ever gotten to that point with me.
Yeah,
I can't report on anything else from other friends because they're acquaintances, like friends of a friends that I've heard this through. None of my personal friends have gone through this.
Yeah.
It's also just like for me, it's like if I'm playing a game I know I don't like, but like I, for whatever reason, feel like I need to play, I probably don't need to play it.
Yeah.
Like like League of Legends. I have never once enjoyed that game, but all my friends play it.
Yeah.
Every time I play it, I hate everything about it. It's a horrid experience, but I'm trapped in this 40-minute match and I can't leave because no one else will join. They'll just be down a team.
So walk me through that, I guess, because this is something that I hear a lot from families and parents, and this is one of the major concerns of parents is, hey, if my kid, and we'll just use video games because we're here, but it's with smartphones and it's with social media and it's with basically any form of
Technology.
interactive digital tech, especially drool tech, where I don't know if I've told you this
Yes,
before.
you have.
Okay, all right, entertainment tech,
yes.
tech we use to consume. So video games specifically. What would you say when a kid tells a parent like, hey, I need to be on this video game, like this is where my friends are, or I need to be on Discord. I mean, use that example. I need to be on Discord or I need to be on this video game because this is where my friends are. And if I'm not here, I won't have my friends.
Yeah.
Like how do you process that conversation and what words would you say to a parent who's like, I don't have any place in my brain for that. Like that's not, you meet your friends outside or you meet your friends at school, or you meet your friends at church. Like
it is always a weird thing, of course, because we're just in the in-between age where our parents never had anything remotely close to this and we've known nothing but this.
Okay. Yeah.
So it took a long time. Like in the end, I think what finally got through to them was I compared it to like real world things like sports.
Okay.
Like when I have to do things that require 6 players and you have to like invite these people, they're not like randomly assigned people to play with, and they like call me to dinner. I'm like, I can't leave. Yeah, it's a video game. Yeah, it's a make-believe world, but I'm like on a team trying to do a thing. It's no different than playing a soccer game. You're on a team trying to do a thing. Just the thing in this game is kill a big giant robot or a demon instead of put a ball in the net.
Okay.
That's what finally got through to them. And like, that's basically what I've used to explain things. Because trying to explain something like video games to someone who has nothing outside of like an Atari or Mario as a reference point, trying to explain like why Halo 5 is a bad game. Like you have to explain 1 through 4 and what's an FPS.
Yeah.
What is frame rate?
What is FPS?
Frames per second.
Okay. All right.
And also first person shooter.
Yeah. Depending on context, it's both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then in that process, like trying to help your family understand like a common experience.
Yeah.
Of like,
and trying to explain that this is like a hobby. This is not a pastime.
okay.
Like this.
Ooh, how would you yeah, what does that mean to you? Like
hobby is something I'm invested in, that I am getting something out of. While a pastime is just like, I don't know, like reading a book you've already read.
okay.
Like just something to kill time, just something to pass time, fast forward time.
Right.
That is a byproduct of video games because they're engaging and generally very long.
Yeah.
But like to me, it has become a hobby because I like the games. I like to think more into the games. I like more nuanced stories.
Yeah, I guess, and on that subject, how do you determine which games are going to be like as a individual, like you're walking out, like this is your right and wrong, you've got your standards for life, like you're processing your experience. Are there games where you're like, hey, that game's too far for me? Or you're like, hey, this is an artistic experience, like I'm going to dive, and you're 20 now.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe even talking to, because none of the parents right now that we're talking to are really raising 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Where we understand, like you're a big grown man at this point.
Yeah.
When you were younger though, like how did you delineate that? What did that conversation look like? And like in the future, how would you talk to a young person about like what they're consuming? Is it just, hey, know your limits, or like, hey, parents, let's be intentional about knowing what games are out there?
Yeah, just definitely just do research. Like it's such a big industry that there are ways to find out content in a game. Don't believe the first thing you see, because as a kid who had to deal with people just looking at the ESRB ratings, they're not always as bad as they say.
Yeah. Okay.
Like my parents, the big thing in my household was nudity.
Okay.
Anything that had anything close, don't even go near it.
Okay.
I got Doom 2016, no fine. I was ripping demons in half in HD. But if there was a boob, that's no go.
Okay.
So just like really look into games your kids are into. And
what's a great way to do that? Because ESRB, right? One of my encouragements is like, I have found it a great first step. You go ESRB, look it up.
Yeah. If it's like graphic nudity, rated M, like violence, drug use, stuff like that, and your kid's like 9, yeah, maybe not. That's up to you, of course. Okay. But in my head, probably not.
We would encourage it not. It's all right. You can say that here.
But yeah, it's like that. It's such a like general term. It's like violence in the movie ratings.
Sure.
It's like that's anywhere from like the Goonies, where someone gets hit in the head, to like Midsommar, where you graphically see someone get their head caved in with a hammer.
Yeah. Yeah, right. For that being one of the horror film genre versus just like almost comic.
Yeah, exactly.
Violence.
It's a good first step to know, like, if it's a lot of red flags right away, then yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
Like if you're still confused, then look a little deeper.
How would they do that? Because this is a question I always want to know. Like, should I send parents to YouTube and just be like, hey, just start searching stuff? Because on the other end, it's like I produce because this isn't, we've actually talked about this, but like I can produce reviews.
Yeah.
And I could do reviews of like, here's the top 10 games this year that everyone's talking about. Let's make a review. And I can walk through it, which I think I eventually will. But as someone who doesn't game currently and hasn't for over a decade, like hard to get my own content to like show for that. So then what else can I do for family? Like I can give the 6 questions to ask, like, hey, would you have this character to dinner? Right? What's the language like? Is violence the point or is it just part of it? Right? Like Doom being, it's the point. Like you get more, you get rewarded for killing things more creatively versus Mario. It's just in there. Like, sure, you stomped on a Goomba. He probably had a family, but no one thinks about that.
Yeah.
So how do you process that? Like if I were to tell someone, hey, like, your 12-year-old wants to play this game. It's a AAA rated game. It's maybe something like Cyberpunk and it's come out and they go, hey, my kid wants to play this. It's Elden Ring. My kid wants to play this. It's not a hard and fast yay, nay. Maybe Cyberpunk might actually be more of a hard and fast yay, nay. But
it also just comes down to knowing your kid. Like if they're young enough where they like haven't really figured out what they can handle. Like if they're like me, when I first figured out, like when I first started putting limits on myself, of like things I knew I wouldn't like, or like movies that would be too scary or stuff like that. I was like 14 or 15.
Okay.
And that was the first movie I was like, when my parents said no, I was like, no, I think I could handle this, actually was Hunger Games.
Okay.
Because they didn't let me see it for a long time because it's like, oh, it's kids killing kids. I was like, yeah, but like there's a story around it. It's not just violence.
Part of it, not the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's used with a purpose.
Yeah.
And I was like, my friends had seen it. They told me about it. I was like, I think I could handle this. And then eventually they let me see it. But like, and then there was stuff like horror movies where I was like, this is just too scary. Not enough for me.
Dude, I don't.
But yeah, like
anyone into this who watches horror movies for fun, like Micah knows this about me. Like
it could be fun.
Dude, it breaks my brain. Yeah, I can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
Interesting.
From my perspective as a kid, not being a parent, I'm 20.
Right.
Like you got to know, you can let your kids experience something outside of their comfort zone. Yeah. I think it's healthy, and games can be a safer way to experience that than like real world things, especially. But knowing like when something is too far.
Yeah.
Like horror games. Most of the time, they're not as bad as they sound. They're just like, they're not like The Shining scary, where it's going to psychologically scar your child.
But then sometimes they do.
Sometimes it's just, I could tell you one thing, but sometimes it's not applicable.
Yeah.
Because video games are the product of human imagination in its fullest.
Yeah.
And there's no real way to pin that down in a good, bad, healthy, non-healthy way.
Yeah.
There are ways you can just look up a playthrough. They're called playthroughs. Look up video game you want to look at, playthrough.
On YouTube or Twitch or
YouTube. There's people who are live streaming it. And like if even if the game looks fine, but you see a lot of people engaging with the game in weird ways that like are off-putting. Like communities are a big aspect of games.
Right.
A huge aspect of games. Some games, that's the whole point. The game is secondary to the community. There's no real easy way to engage with a community and it not be like your whole life for a little bit. You can't just make one forum post and call it good.
Right. So, and I think that's a really key point. So I just want to pause that conversation because what you just said is huge on parents. We got to know our kiddos.
Yeah.
Like that is huge. And that means we have to be present with them. It means we have to invest in it enough to acknowledge this is something my kid is into. And we need to get beyond I would say beyond the point where we're simply trying to shy away from the bad stuff, I guess is the way I'll say it, where we're just saying, hey, that's a line too far. We're going to stop before that line because on the other line is oblivion. Like if our kid has played this game or if they're into it and it's starting, like you're watching it capture their hearts and their imagination, we want to get in there with them. I think playing with a kid is a really wise decision.
Or just being there while they play.
Or being there
just watching them play and asking them questions. They will love to explain what's happening.
And this is a big win in two ways. One, you get to see firsthand. Yes, it's useful to watch, obviously, like so playthroughs. Great way to watch someone else play it and just get a general gist of it. Talking to a kid about it outside of the actual gameplay, but watching them play is valuable. It is still reasonable, and I will tell you this, right? We do have a standard in light of the gospel and in light of the scriptures of who Jesus is and giving us new hearts and calling us to a new identity. Like our old self does die, and there are times where our fun goes too far, and that's what Philippians 4:8 reminds us of. Like, all right, this is what our fun should look like. Or when we see 1 Corinthians 13, and we see a definition of love is patient and kind, and you can look at certain games like, hey, this doesn't build any of that in you. And the community you're investing in and the friends you're making, like these people aren't bringing this out of you. Like they don't make you look more like Jesus. Like the game probably is fairly innocuous, but it's not making you who you're supposed to be. We do want to remember those things. Galatians 5:22, right? We are given a very specific list in Galatians 5:22 of what it looks like to be of Christ. And if you look back 19 through 21 says, hey, this is what your flesh looks like when it's not submitted to Christ. This is what your heart and your brain start to revel in, and it's not what you're called to do. So we are given a biblical standard. You don't simply take that standard and say, well, I don't like that, therefore I'm going to throw this Bible verse at it. Those are actually verses to remind us of who God is and has been for all eternity past. And when we say, Lord, I need you, Jesus, would you be my Savior? We're not just grabbing some kind of heavenly golden ticket. Instead, we're saying, Lord, you get to be Lord of my life. When we hear the Lord's Prayer, Mike and I were actually just talking about this today. When we hear the Lord's Prayer, Jesus says, pray like this. Our Father who's in heaven, right? So we're talking about our Heavenly Father first. Holy is your name, so you're bigger than me, and I understand that. Like I'm immediately establishing this relationship. And guess what? That God, you're holy, and I'm not relationship goes for how I treat my kids, how I treat my wife, how I do my job, and yes, what I do with my quote unquote free time, because there is no free time. There's just time. And we've been bought with a price. And as we go through the rest of that prayer, it's holy is your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In my games as it is in heaven, in my speech, in my viewing, in my sleep, in my exercise, like in the way I use my resource that I've been lent for this season we call life, would your will be done? And then when we get to give us this day, just what we need, our daily bread. And I think this reminder for us, and by the way, the last one is forgive us as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I told Micah here that this is a great quote from Andy Stanley, that the unforgiving heart is an unforgiven heart. And I do like that. It's a wonderful reminder. And I think that's what we can take into our conversation with our young people as we look at video games. Rather than just going ESRB or Nathan's review, hard no. Why? Because they said so. Just what you mentioned, like watch them play the game. Talk to them about it. And it's entirely possible a game could surpass your standards for your family. What a cool opportunity to talk about the standards for your family.
Yeah.
Rather than a one-time rule drop of like, here's the rules, don't you dare cross the line. But going, hey, like, let's talk about the way those characters interacted. Let's talk about what's motivating this character. What was the game we just talked about today where we're like, that was a horrible motivation? oh, it's going to bother me now. But there are games where there's no good guys. Like you'll be getting through the game, you're like, oh, there's actually like I can't root for any of these characters. Is this a game I want to keep investing in, or a movie I want to keep watching, or families? Hey, the shows we watch, guess what? Those apply here too. Like there is stuff where we have the time, we want the excitement, but sometimes it's too far for fun. And I think that's a great point you brought up. And man, encouraging. If there was one thing you wish parents knew about their kids, and we'll keep it just in gaming for now, because what's one thing, if you could like wave a magic wand and be like, all parents know, insert the blank, and they can now apply this in their lives about tech or gaming.
That's a good question. I guess I would just say it's a great avenue to build friendships. Like there are people I've met in my lives that I've known for 8+ years now that I'm best friends with. I would never have met if it weren't for video games. I met them because of games. We bonded because of games. Like our whole relationship is more than games now, of course. But in the beginning, that's all there was. And I would never have met them without it.
Yeah.
So to take away that opportunity because you don't understand it just kind of sucks.
And then on the flip side, when a parent's like, yeah, but like, how do I make sure they don't meet stranger danger and big old creeper out there, or get sucked into some side portal? They went on for a video game, but then they found the Google searches and it's incognito mode. And right, like how do we help families there have that conversation with their young person?
Just make kids aware that people like that do exist.
Yeah.
Don't immediately say, oh, your friend's a pedophile, I bet. Because my dad did that, and I got super defensive, and that led to some issues.
Yeah.
But being skeptical is good, but being resentful makes your kids kind of resent you in ways. Because, at least for me, I love my friends a lot, and I'm very protective of them because I care about them. So the second anyone starts talking bad about them, no matter who they are, they're my parents, yeah, but I'm still going to defend them because I care about them.
Defend your friends.
Defend my friends.
Yeah. And you've met all of them except the Australian friend, right? Like,
yes, there's a friend in Australia who I have not met because Australia.
Because Australia.
And it's far away, and also COVID.
Right? That's been interesting.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Just don't treat it like it's a completely alien process from meeting a kid at school.
Yeah.
Because it's just not. Except you met a friend at school, you met them because of school, you met a friend because of games. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Sure, you can't see them, but I don't know. I feel like kids have more intelligence than people let on sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, maybe there's some people who would trick your kid, but most of the time, if it's obvious, it's obvious. Anyone will see it.
Well, and then I guess that's the thing. So here's what let me run this by you, and you tell me if this sounds legit. Because what I would tell families to do in that case, I'm like, all right, you have a 8-year-old, 10-year-old, they want to play this online game, Roblox, right? Something of that nature. First thing is, if your kid's going on the interwebs, we need what I call loving accountability and setting up a hedge. So you need to protect your home network and need to protect personal devices.
Yes.
We need to make sure we don't digitally spy on our children. So we're not reading their diaries. We're not scrolling through their entire phone because we gave them a phone or we gave them the internet. So we've built up the levels of trust. Like we know that they can do what they say they're going to do, and we're going to have boundaries. And so, for example, those verses I referenced, like we're going to have talked out, hey, this is our standard in light of Christ's love for us. We're going to use our tech out of that love because he loves us rather than trying to run away from it, right? So if we see anything that seems to be hurting you or the people around you, we're going to lovingly step in. Not protect you from fear, but point you towards hope. So then in light of that, we get something. So Bark is a program that I reference parents to. And it basically is, which Anna always thinks of Woof from The Office, where it like sends you a text and a fax. And so Bark is not that. It's a program that basically just looks for really high concern, like text, images, messages, searches. So if you search self-harm, or if someone texts, even if someone just sends you a message, nobody likes you, it'll ping that and be like, hey, there was a concerning text sent to your child at X time, right? And that's then your talking point of, hey.
Does it tell you the text?
I think it uses the phrase, or it uses the flag. Like there was a bullying concern that showed up, I believe is the way it does it. So you know roughly, or like it will capture an image. If someone sends an inappropriate image, it'll be like, here's this blurred out image. Like, go talk to them about who this person is and why they received it. So that's my first line of loving intentional parenting is what I would call it. Because it's not really defense, because it doesn't stop a whole lot. What it does is make sure that at least two people see it. So a kid's never holding the bag if something goes sideways. Does that seem like a reasonable first step in your mind? As a young person thinking back to your like middle school days.
In all honesty, I think a reasonable first step is, I don't think people under teenagers should even be online. In all honesty, I think it is too volatile of an environment too quickly. Even like Roblox. Roblox is made for kids, and it's a great way for people because you can make games with pre-made assets that get big and people play them. But it's just such a volatile environment.
And in that you mean like you can go a little bit sideways and it goes a lot of bit sideways in a hurry.
Yeah, you
like
can go to
the steps.
You can go to like one map where it's like a fashion show, and then like the 2 maps later from similar searches, you can end up in like virtual strip clubs and things like that. Stuff that are way outside where any kid should be. That's just my personal belief.
When would you say start? Like this kid wants to play online games, live games that have other people in them, not just games that have kind of a solo play mode.
There are exceptions. I think stuff like if a game is focused on the social interaction, that's kind of a red flag to me.
Okay, so that would be your Roblox, Minecraft, like
Minecraft, kinda. Because Minecraft is a single-player game, but you can join servers. So the single-player game, I think, is great, but the servers can end up being volatile. Not nearly as much as Roblox. But
all right. So like, if social is the main aspect.
Yeah, but like
that's
like Fortnite.
Okay.
Fortnite is a game pretty much any kid is going to want to play. For the most part, it's pretty harmless.
Because there's no like dedicated chats. There's no.
I don't think so anymore. I think there used to be, but they took it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so social interaction is not the point. But for younger kids, it's who don't have the social know-how to, like when I was a kid, I didn't even know I was being bullied at some points because I just didn't know what that looked like until it started affecting me.
Yeah.
And I just get super concerned when I see parents just letting like little kids play Roblox because of the things I've seen.
Sure.
Not looking for like weird things like, oh, this is funny and weird. Why is this here?
Right. And some of it even branded to be attractive in that way. And I think that's like the example I use of that with even my kids wanting smartphones is like, hey, like when I was young, like, it makes me sound super old, but we had like, if you were going to bump into pornography accidentally, it's because someone brought a physical document that had pictures, right?
Yes.
Or used a 56K modem.
Yeah.
To like try to pull up an image, a still image.
Yeah, that took like 20 minutes to download.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And like those were your 2 ways. Whereas now, like, I mean, you get big old dumb thumbs on your search engine and like you can end up somewhere accidentally, which is the conversation. So right now, statistically, it's 11 is your average age for kids running into pornography the first time. And it's typically not just a still image.
Yes.
And kids are kids and they're curious and they want to know what was that.
Yeah.
And they're going to start searching, and that's where Bart comes in. But I love your point of like, hey, they probably don't need a supercomputer in their pocket at these younger ages.
Like even they're gonna not like the fact that all their friends have it.
Yeah.
But they don't. But in the end, as me who wish I had less reins on me as a kid, I still think I wish I had that because I didn't have that growing up.
Yeah.
And I had the parents who just gave me this phone at like 14. And then immediately I was like, oh, I can't like do anything. I have to just do the things they know. Because if anything that they didn't know, like if I signed up for a social media that they didn't know about because I wanted to look at art, because I like digital art, just like normal portraits, but drawn digitally instead of physically. They're like, what is this? Looking at porn? Like it was immediately I did something wrong and I had to prove that it was fine.
Right.
I just hated that they always assumed the worst, which is fair, yes, but
and this is parents. This I want to double down on that. That is why something like Bark first, and then something like a Griffin router for your family. The point is not being the constant digital police for you and your family. The point is you now don't have to. You can fight for your kid and not just with them, because you're not having to second guess. Like, again, you gave them the device. We're going to trust that they're going to be making the best choices known how, that they know that you're a loving resource. And then we're going to verify. We're going to have a third party involved. And if you go, yeah, but Sutherland, these are paid subscriptions. Bark costs money. So did that smartphone, right? So does the monthly subscription for that smartphone. So
does a therapist if they get scarred for life.
Is the exact point I bring up. Yes. It's is really cheap therapy. And it's preventative and it's proactive and it's helping your kids learn to be emotionally intelligent. It's learn to communicate about when hard stuff does happen.
I would also encourage not to, or just like, I don't know how to say it. Just don't accuse them right away.
Yeah, I think come curious, right?
Yeah.
Come with, hey, I saw this, or I'm seeing this.
Like, hey, like you're not in trouble. I just want to make sure everything is okay.
Yes.
Like this is weird to me. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Is there a way is this bad? If it's bad, can we find a way to stop it? If it's good, can you explain to me why?
Yeah. And if it's bad and you like it, let's have that conversation. Parents, we're the loving ones to step in. This is what Jesus did for us. Like when we look at the gospel, it's not Jesus coming down and be like, y'all suck at this. I'm now going to show you how it's done, and then live a perfect life, mic drop, and be like, do it like that. Instead, he goes, no, you can't do this. And you're broken and you're so lost. And I love you. And I'm actually going to die, lay down my life on your behalf so that you can get my Holy Spirit inside you. And that's what's going to start changing your hearts. And that's what we need to pray for our children and also talk to our kiddos about, is that our changed hearts don't come because we eventually get the 10 commandments right. Like David, the man after God's own heart, didn't do it well because adultery and murdering your good friends are both frowned upon in the 10 commandments.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
But still a man after God's own heart. Why? He repented really well. And he hated his sin, and he asked, and he still got consequences, and that's all part of it. So what are we talking about with our kids here? We're talking in the tech world. We're not there to just police them. We're not there just to make sure they never make a mistake, but be curious. Walk into those spots with them.
You should be there to try and equip them with the ability to figure out what is good and what is bad, not strictly tell them this one thing is bad, this one thing is good.
Yeah, don't ask any questions.
Don't ask questions. Explain why. Explain the reasons it is bad, specifically in your ideas, even if your kid disagrees.
Which they will sometimes.
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
we will out of spite.
It's okay. We as parents have never had rebellious seasons of our lives. That's the good news. We've always done the right thing.
All parents were perfect children.
That's true. That's why we got the certification to be parents. It's a whole big licensing process. Don't ask any questions. So anyway, awesome. Micah, thank you for doing this. Yeah. I'm super pleased with what just happened. That was cool to hear your thoughts on those. Everyone else, thank you for being a part of this conversation. If you are processing tech with your kiddos, you can reach out to me directly, nathan@gospeltech.net, or on Facebook and Instagram. It's just @LoveGodUseTech. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your concerns, things this might have stirred up in you as we have these kind of what the tech conversations where they don't really fit in the brand of the rest of Gospel Tech, but I think they're important, and I want to help families talk about this and help kind of remove the confusion. It's a lot of the fear that comes with big conversations and discussing things like video games, especially for families where it may not be comfortable. If you have any concerns, reach out. Would you be willing to share this with someone? Because that's how we continue to grow and help more families as we have these conversations. And would you join us next week as we continue to talk about how we can love God and use tech?